At the end of every job closing sequence, you will be asked to do a mandatory RBAT test, request background auto test. You should be doing this on installation jobs or order jobs and cleared faults and the test result stored. To do this, we will use option 7 Access CSS for a demonstration. Number 1 CSS request, and it gives us our list. We will go through all of these transactions. The first one we shall do will be RBAT, and it's as simple as pressing 1, 2, 3 and 4 to get the transaction you require. To show you how flexible the system is, what we're going to do is we'll test a number at random and not the one that's actually stored against the job. Pressing 1, you can see there's a Thamesway job there, a fault report code TH2CCW01, and there's a telephone number there, and it's not an auxiliary line. What we're actually going to do is change the phone number to do a test to prove that you can test from anywhere and you can test any line. But it should really be only the one that you are actually physically working on. You might well want a test because there is no test result on the job. What we'll do is we'll change the phone number, we'll pick one at random down in Langley just by over typing the phone number. And you can see I made a mistake, and we can go back quite easily and erase this, and we can put in the correct number. Now as soon as I press enter, you will see that the fault report code disappears because the phone number doesn't actually relate to that job number, and we don't wish to store it against that job number. Press enter and it takes us to the system access screen. Press enter and it will dial up the host and ask for a test. This one is the longest of the CSS accesses. It will dial into the host, Work Manager, and it will request the setup of a test. This can be done actually plugged into the customer's socket. Once it's set up the test sequence, the field terminal will actually wait for 45 seconds and count down while that test result is taking place. It will then redial the host and request the result. There's your countdown. What you're actually looking for is line tests OK. To follow this, page 41, 42 and 43 in your workbooks. On page 42 it gives you a background auto test result. It will be your telephone number and or line number, the date, the time and the user ID, and it will give you dispatch and diagnostics. You are looking for line tests OK. If you get LN or CA, chances are you've probably still got a fault. If you are absolutely certain that you have cleared the fault and there is nothing wrong with it, you may then close the job with a line that is not coming up testing OK. Basic test results would be quite simple. Line testing OK, bell BA. If you've tested remotely, it means there's a phone plugged in, or it will say tele unplugged. There's a full list of the explanations of DTEXLNCA on page 43 in your workbook. Please read these and understand them. We are now dialing back into the system to receive the test result. There it is, background auto test. This is done remotely, so it's showing at the bottom LBA, so there's a telephone plugged in. We've actually tested 01753 543 805 down in Langley at 21:20 on the 14th of the 3rd 97. The user ID, the line tested OK. Using your down arrow key you can move up and you get up to 12 lines of additional information. It would possibly say telly unplugged, battery or earth. Very simple test results. On pressing enter they are stored. So you can see that you can do a line test before you actually do close the job. It is mandatory on closing any kind of job that you do a line test. There are certain circumstances where you do not need to do this, obviously pair provings or problems where additional work needs to be done. Pressing enter, they are into your test results, number 2. To access CSS, press button number 7 from the main menu. Number 1, CSS request, and number 4, DRT. Gives us a choice of 2 options. Number 1, the national number. Number 2, the termination number of a DP. Number 1 can be very useful if you're working on a repair of an auxiliary line group. The usual thing with Work Manager is to give you the routing for line 1 on a hunt group. If you're actually working on, say, line 5, you can see that you are able to change the line number just by tabbing down and putting in 005. This will then ask CSS to give you the routing for line 5. What we'll actually do to show you how flexible the system is, we'll go for termination number, number 2. It's set up for Aldershot, which is the job in the live terminal, and we can change this. We'll have a look at Langley. LL, tab down and move the cursor down, and we'll change it from an internal DP node, and we'll pick one at random, DP257. Again, tab down to the bottom. We're looking for a D side, and we'll look for number 2, and we'll see if we can find out the telephone number and the routing for DP257 line or pair 2. Press enter. From the system access screen, press enter again, and it will dial up the Work Manager system and ultimately into CSS. We'll go through the initialization of the modem and a security check. Dial the fit. Once it's through, it usually takes about 1 minute. Set up the call, transmitting, receiving, security check. Clearing the call, call cleared. And there we have a circuit number for Langley, and it's a working routing. We've now found out the telephone number and also the code. On using your down arrow key, you can now move the system up, and we'll go through the routing. And again, it's working a little bit back to front, and it's on bar pair P202, cabinet 4, E side 202, D side 382, DP257, pair 2. So we've now found the working circuit of 543805 and its routing. Using your workbook on page 52, it will give you a list of what the abbreviations mean. Usage is a working line. Real or hypothetical, it is real. If you see H for hypothetical, it means it's been earmarked by planning. And is it pre-connected? Yes. The normal abbreviations are working, spare, planned, existing, allocated. And it's as simple as that. That is then loaded into the memory on pressing enter and can be recalled at any time while you still have that job on the handheld terminal. Let us now use the system to look for spare pairs. Again, option 7 from the main menu, option 1 CSS request. We will now pick number 3 DPR, display pairs. Again, this particular terminal set up for Aldershot for the DP against the job that's actually in there, but we can change it. And we're going to look for spares only. As you can see from the very bottom, pair type, it says P, pre-connected. You will not look for pre-connected spares. So these are possibly allocated or already going into a customer's premises. Again, we'll change the system to Langley, LL, move the cursor down, and we'll change the internal DP, and we'll use DP257 again, and see if we can find any spares on the DP. It will only look for D sides, and we can start the search from pair 1, pair 2, pair 3, pair 50. We'll leave it where it is, cursor down to the bottom, and S for spares only. Put the S in, press enter, takes you to the system access screen, press enter again, and it will dial up the host, initialize the modem, security check, and hopefully within a minute or so it should return us with a routing that we could use. It is important when you close the job that you put notes in. You also change the routing on the system, as we've seen on the training course. We can change the routing literally, but the important thing is to put appropriate notes in to the CRO as to why you've done the change. To follow this, if you use page 47, 48, 49 in your workbooks, we can go through together a list of what the abbreviations mean. You can see this is in real time, it is very quick. We now have a list on DP257 of 2 spares available for use. And they go through cabinet 4, D sides 378, and we have pairs 17 and 18. If you'd like to look at page 48 in your workbook and 49, it will give you a list of what they mean. It is Langley Exchange, going from left to right, cabinet 4, D side. SNNR. The abbreviations for that are on page 96. And they are spare, not pre-connected. N, spare, not allocated. Second N, not pre-connected. And the last field, R, means they are real. If you see H for hypothetical, it means they are being earmarked by planning. You can see on page 49 There are also some other abbreviations listed there: reserved, allocated, stopped, working. You must only look for SNNR and take those. Remember, always tell CRO via the handheld terminal of the changes. We're going to access dnode to display a cabinet or a DP. From the main menu, number 7, CSS access. Number 1, CSS request. And we shall pick number 2, dnode. This is set for Aldershot, which is the live job within the terminal. But again, we'll change it to Langley, LL, and we'll change the D to a P for a cabinet. And we'll look for cabinet 4. Press enter, system access, press enter again, and it will dial up the host or the FIP, initialize the modem, do a security check, and allow us through to CSS. To follow dnode, page 44, 45 and 46 in your workbooks. Very useful system if you are working out of area and you don't know where a cabinet is, or you're unsure of a DP. As you can see, it's quite fast when it gets through. Dnode result, it's given us the exchange code of Langley. Sometimes it will give you the grid reference, the node type, sometimes a map reference, and it's given us cabinet 4 is in Langley Road, junction of Crockett Road. Node type will be used more for DPs, underground radial, overhead. Using your down arrow key, we can move the screen up and it will give us the only node of MDF1. The bearer is the exchange area that you happen to be in, whether it's a stabilised node, EO area, and some notes. In this case it's a 500 pair MDF. It's been tested for ISDN circuits. Depending on who typed in the notes depends on the amount of information you get. Once again, on pressing enter, that is then stored into your results. Number 3 to quit, back to the main menu.